My sister disappeared in this national park. 15 years later, she came back different. The air hung thick and heavy with the scent of pine and damp earth, a familiar comfort that soured with each step I took deeper into Redwood National Park. 15 years. 15 years since Alara, my bright, effervescent sister, vanished without a trace. 15 years of unanswered questions, gnawing emptiness, and a hope I desperately clung to, even as logic screamed at me to let go. We were kids then, Alara a mischievous 12 and me, a gawky 15, on a family camping trip. I still remember the way the sunlight filtered through the towering trees, creating dappled patterns on the forest floor as Alara chased a butterfly, her laughter echoing through the ancient woods. I warned her not to wander too far, but Alara, ever the free spirit, just grinned and promised to stay within earshot. An hour later, she was gone. The butterfly, a fleeting iridescent blue, was the last thing anyone saw of her. The search was massive, a frantic dance of park rangers, volunteers, and distraught family members scouring every trail, every ravine, every hidden corner of the park. Helicopters buzzed overhead, their rotors beating a mournful rhythm against the backdrop of the silent redwoods. Dogs sniffed at Alara's abandoned backpack, their barks turning to whimpers as they lost her scent in the labyrinthine forest. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months, and months into years. The hope that had initially fueled the search slowly dwindled, replaced by a grim acceptance that Alara was never coming back. The official story became a tragic accident, a naive girl lost in the unforgiving wilderness, a victim of the elements. But I never truly believed it. Alara was a smart kid, resourceful and resilient. She knew basic survival skills, things our nature-loving father had ingrained in us since we were toddlers. She wouldn't just get lost and die. Something else happened, something sinister, something the park rangers weren't telling us. Or maybe something they didn't even know. So I returned year after year, drawn back to the park like a moth to a flame, driven by an unshakable belief that Alara was still out there. I retraced our steps, revisited the last spot where I saw her, searching for clues, for answers, for any sign that would lead me to the truth. I interviewed park rangers, questioned locals, even consulted with psychics and self-proclaimed wilderness experts, all to no avail. The park remained silent, its secrets buried deep beneath the redwood duff. This year, however, felt different. I couldn't explain it, but a strange energy pulsed through the forest, a palpable hum that vibrated in my bones. The air was thick with an unnatural stillness, a sense of anticipation that made the hairs on my neck stand on end. I felt like I was being watched, followed, observed by something unseen. I dismissed it as paranoia, the product of years of grief and obsession, but the feeling persisted, growing stronger with each passing hour. I decided to deviate from my usual routine, venturing off the marked trails into the dense, uncharted heart of the park. I consulted old maps, researched local legends, and spoke to the few remaining members of the indigenous tribes who had inhabited the area for centuries, seeking any information that might shed light on Alara's disappearance. They spoke of ancient spirits, of hidden pathways that led to other realms, of a darkness that lurked beneath the surface of the park. I listened patiently, separating the superstition from the potential truth, piecing together a fragmented narrative of forgotten lore. It was late afternoon when I stumbled upon it, a small, overgrown clearing hidden deep within a grove of ancient redwoods. The trees surrounding the clearing were gnarled and twisted, their branches reaching skyward like skeletal arms. A sense of unease washed over me as I stepped into the clearing, a primal fear that resonated deep within my soul. In the center of the clearing stood a single, massive redwood, its trunk impossibly wide, its bark scarred with strange symbols that seemed to writhe and shift before my eyes. The air around the tree shimmered, as if distorted by heat, and a low, guttural hum emanated from its depths. I cautiously approached the tree, drawn by an irresistible force, my heart pounding in my chest. As I reached out to touch the rough bark, a vision flooded my mind, a kaleidoscope of images that swirled and coalesced into a terrifying scene. I saw Alara, not as the innocent 12-year-old I remembered, but as a gaunt, hollow-eyed figure being led by shadowy figures through a dark, twisting tunnel. I saw her performing strange rituals, chanting in an unknown language, offering sacrifices to something ancient and malevolent. I saw her changing, transforming, becoming something other than human. The vision ended as abruptly as it began, leaving me gasping for breath, my body trembling with fear. I stumbled back, away from the tree, my mind reeling from what I had just witnessed. Was it real? Was it a hallucination? Or was it a glimpse into the horrible truth of what had happened to Alara? I didn't know, but I knew I had to find out. I spent the next few days exploring the clearing, searching for any sign of Alara, any clue that would confirm or deny the vision. I found nothing, only the oppressive silence of the forest and the unsettling presence of the ancient redwood. Just as I was about to give up, I noticed something strange, a small, almost imperceptible indentation in the ground near the base of the tree. I knelt down and brushed away the leaves and dirt, revealing a narrow opening, a dark, hidden passageway that led into the depths of the earth. My heart leaped into my throat. This was it. This was where Alara had gone. I hesitated for a moment, fear warring with determination. What awaited me in the darkness? What horrors lay hidden beneath the surface of the park? I didn't know, but I couldn't turn back now. Alara was counting on me. I took a deep breath, steeled my nerves, and crawled into the opening. The passageway was narrow and claustrophobic, the air thick with the smell of damp earth and something else, something ancient and indescribably foul. I crawled for what seemed like hours, my hands and knees scraping against the rough stone, my body aching with exhaustion. The passageway twisted and turned, descending deeper and deeper into the earth until I reached a large, cavernous chamber. The chamber was dimly lit by an unnatural glow that emanated from the walls, revealing a scene that made my blood run cold. In the center of the chamber stood a massive altar carved from a single block of obsidian. The altar was stained with blood, both fresh and ancient, and surrounded by strange symbols that mirrored those on the redwood tree above. Chained to the altar were several figures, their bodies emaciated, their eyes vacant, their faces contorted in silent screams. They were sacrifices, offerings to whatever entity dwelled within this dark place. And then I saw her. Standing at the far end of the chamber, bathed in the unholy light, was Alara. But it wasn't the Alara I remembered. This Alara was taller, gaunter, her skin pale and translucent. Her eyes glowed with an eerie intensity, and her lips were curved into a cruel, unsettling smile. She wore a long, flowing robe adorned with the same strange symbols that covered the altar and the redwood tree. She looked like a priestess, a high servant of some dark and ancient god. "Hello, sister," she said, her voice a low, guttural rasp that sent shivers down my spine. "It's been a long time." I stared at her in disbelief, my mind unable to comprehend what I was seeing. "Alara," I whispered, my voice trembling. "Is that really you?" She laughed, a cold, heartless sound that echoed through the chamber. "Of course, it's me," she said. "But I'm not the Alara you remember. I'm something more now, something greater." "What have you done?" I asked, my voice rising in panic. "What is this place?" "This is my home," she said, gesturing around the chamber. "The home of the old ones, the ancient gods who have dwelled beneath this park for centuries. They have shown me the truth, the power that lies hidden beneath the surface of this world. And now I am their vessel, their instrument." "They kidnapped you," I said, my voice filled with anger. "They brainwashed you, turned you into this monster." She shook her head, her eyes gleaming with fervor. "No," she said. "They saved me. They showed me my true potential. I was just a lost, insignificant child before. Now I am a conduit of unimaginable power. You have to come back with me," I pleaded, taking a step towards her. "We can get you help. We can fix this." She smiled again, that cruel, unsettling smile. "There's nothing to fix," she said. "I am exactly who I am supposed to be. And now it's time for you to join me." She raised her hand, and the shadowy figures that had been lurking in the corners of the chamber stepped forward. They were tall and gaunt, their faces hidden beneath dark hoods, their eyes glowing with the same eerie light as Alara's. "These are my disciples," she said. "They will help you see the truth. They will help you understand the power that awaits you." The disciples advanced towards me, their hands outstretched, their eyes filled with an unholy hunger. I knew what they wanted. They wanted to sacrifice me, to offer my life to the old ones. I turned to run, but it was too late. They were upon me, their cold, skeletal fingers grasping at my arms, their voices chanting in the same unknown language I had heard in my vision. I struggled against them, kicking and screaming, but they were too strong. They dragged me towards the altar, towards the waiting obsidian blade. Elara watched with a detached amusement, her eyes gleaming with triumph. "Welcome home, sister," she said. "Welcome to the family." As the disciples forced me onto the altar, I closed my eyes and braced myself for the end. But then something unexpected happened. A surge of energy coursed through my body, a primal force that I never knew I possessed. It was the same energy I had felt in the clearing, the same hum that had vibrated in my bones. It was the power of the park itself, the ancient, untamed energy of the redwoods. It was the spirit of the forest rising up to defend itself against the darkness that had invaded its depths. The energy flowed through me, giving me strength, giving me resolve. I opened my eyes and roared, a primal scream that shattered the silence of the chamber. The disciples recoiled in terror, their grip on me loosening. I seized the opportunity and lashed out, striking them with all my might. They were weak, emaciated, their bodies easily broken. I fought like a wild animal, fueled by adrenaline and righteous fury. I punched, kicked, and clawed my way through the disciples, leaving a trail of broken bodies in my wake. Elara watched in stunned silence as I dismantled her followers, her face slowly contorting with rage. "You can't stop me," she screamed. "The old ones are too powerful. They will consume you all." "Not if I can help it," I replied, my voice hoarse but resolute. I turned towards Elara, my eyes burning with determination. "This ends now," I said. "I'm taking you home." I lunged at her, my hands outstretched, ready to drag her back to the world she had abandoned. But she was ready for me. She raised her hands and unleashed a torrent of dark energy, a swirling vortex of shadows that slammed into me with incredible force. I was thrown back against the wall, my body racked with pain. The energy burned through me, searing my skin, twisting my insides. I felt myself weakening, my resolve fading. But I couldn't give up. I couldn't let Elara win. I summoned the last of my strength and pushed myself to my feet. I staggered towards her, my body trembling, my vision blurring. She unleashed another blast of dark energy, but this time I was ready. I channeled the energy of the park, absorbing the dark energy and converting it into pure, raw power. I felt myself growing stronger, my body glowing with an ethereal light. I reached Elara and grabbed her by the arms, my fingers digging into her flesh. She screamed in pain as the light from my body began to burn away the darkness that had consumed her. Her eyes flickered, her face contorting as the influence of the old ones began to wane. "Please," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "Help me." I held her tight, refusing to let go. I poured all my love, all my hope, all my memories of the sister I had lost into her. I reminded her of our childhood, of our parents, of the countless adventures we had shared in the park. I reminded her of who she was meant to be. And slowly, gradually, the darkness began to recede. The eerie glow in her eyes faded, replaced by a glimmer of recognition. The cruel smile disappeared, replaced by a look of confusion and pain. Her body began to tremble, racked with sobs. "I'm sorry," she cried, her voice filled with remorse. "I'm so sorry." I held her close, comforting her as she wept. The energy of the park continued to flow through us, cleansing us both of the darkness that had plagued us for so long. Finally, the darkness was gone. Elara was back. Not the Elara I had lost 15 years ago, but a new Elara scarred by her experiences, but ultimately still my sister. We stood there, in the depths of the earth, surrounded by the remnants of a forgotten evil, clinging to each other for support. We had faced the darkness and emerged victorious. But our journey was far from over. We still had to escape the chamber, to return to the world above, to face the consequences of what had happened. We made our way back through the passageway, our steps guided by the faint light that filtered down from the clearing above. As we emerged from the darkness, we were greeted by the warm embrace of the sun and the familiar scent of pine and damp earth. We were home. We spent the next few months recovering, both physically and emotionally. Elara struggled to readjust to life outside the park, haunted by the memories of her captivity. She underwent therapy, reconnected with our parents, and slowly began to rebuild her life. I stayed by her side, offering her my unwavering support. We shared our story with the authorities, but they dismissed it as a delusion, a product of trauma and grief. They refused to believe that anything sinister had occurred within the park, preferring to maintain the illusion of safety and tranquility. But we knew the truth. We knew that the darkness still lurked beneath the surface, waiting for its chance to rise again. So we made a pact, a promise to protect the park, to safeguard it from the evil that threatened to consume it. We became its guardians, its protectors, its vigilant sentinels. We patrolled the trails, monitored the ancient redwoods, and kept a watchful eye on the hidden places where the darkness might fester. We learned to harness the energy of the park, to use its power to defend against the forces of evil. We became the protectors that the park needed, the guardians it deserved. And so we continue our vigil year after year, forever bound to the park that both saved us and nearly destroyed us. We are the keepers of its secrets, the guardians of its soul, and we will never let the darkness win. The events in Redwood National Park changed us, marked us, forged an unbreakable bond between us. Alara, no longer the innocent child lost in the woods, and I, forever scarred by the search, carry the weight of our shared experience. We patrol the whispering trails, the ancient redwoods are silent witnesses, knowing the park's serene facade hides a darkness that sleeps but never truly dies. Sometimes, late at night, when the moon hangs heavy in the sky, I hear Alara scream in her sleep, reliving the rituals, the chanting, the cold touch of the obsidian altar. And I am there, instantly holding her, whispering reassurances, reminding her of the light, of the power within us both. The park itself seems to breathe with us, the ancient trees swaying in rhythm with our heartbeats, the wind carrying our silent promise to protect its sacred ground. But there are moments, too, when I see a flicker of that other Alara in her eyes, a fleeting glimpse of the priestess consumed by the old ones, and I know the battle is never truly over. The darkness is patient, insidious, always seeking a way back in. We have learned to read the signs, the subtle shifts in the park's energy, the unsettling silence that precedes the storm. We have discovered hidden pathways, ancient symbols etched into the bark of the redwoods, forgotten altars where sacrifices were once made. We have become experts in the lore of the park, deciphering the whispers of the wind, understanding the language of the trees. We have found allies in unexpected places, the descendants of the indigenous tribes who still hold the ancient knowledge, the lone wolf hikers who sense the darkness lurking beneath the surface, the park rangers who have learned to trust their instincts, even when they cannot explain them. Together, we form a network of protectors, a silent army standing guard against the encroaching shadows. We know that one day the darkness will rise again, stronger than before, but we will be ready. We will stand our ground, armed with our knowledge, our courage, and the unwavering power of the park itself. We are the guardians of Redwood National Park, and we will not fail. The weight of this responsibility is heavy, a constant reminder of what we have lost and what we must protect. But it is also a source of strength, a purpose that drives us forward even in the darkest of times. We are bound to this place, to this fight, forever intertwined with the fate of the ancient redwoods and the secrets they hold. And so we continue our vigil year after year, walking the trails, listening to the whispers of the wind, and watching for the return of the darkness. For we know that in the heart of Redwood National Park, the battle between light and shadow is never truly over.